Dr. Drew Pinsky, you know Dr. Drew Lewis, of course, from Loveline and his Headline News Show and Celebrity Rehab and Celebrity Sober House.
Celebrity doctor.
He's a celebrity doctor, exactly. I always actually thought that he was relatively competent, and he being a psychiatrist and my dad being a psychiatrist and having heard a lot of the different things that both of them talk about over the years, my impression was Dr. Drew was at least to some level trustworthy and competent. Okay? That may still be the case as far as the competence, but we may not really be able to trust that the opinions he's giving are unbiased, because we now are looking at a number of different reports, including now, thanks to the Justice Department, we know about a payday that Dr. Drew received that was big enough to cause some concern. As part of its huge $3 billion settlement with pharmaceutical giant GlaxoSmithKline, the Department of Justice revealed documents that show that Dr. Drew had taken close to $300,000 for, quote, services for Wellbutrin. Now, what does that mean, Lewis? Services for Wellbutrin. What exactly was he doing? Well, it turns out, Wellbutrin being an antidepressant, that according to the government complaint, Dr. Drew was hired to, quote, deliver messages about Wellbutrin SR in settings where it did not appear that Dr. Drew was speaking for GlaxoSmithKline. So this is incredible
advertising.
Stuff. Basically advertising and making it seem like medical advice. Pinsky suggested that Wellbutrin might be responsible for increasing a woman's orgasm rate to as many as 60 orgasms in a good night. According to an internal GSK memo, it said that Dr. Drew was, quote, communicating key campaign messages about Wellbutrin to the public. Now, of course, the orgasms are an off-label use of Wellbutrin, as you might imagine, Lewis. It's not actually illegal for Dr. Drew or other doctors to promote or prescribe off-label uses. It would be illegal, however, if GlaxoSmithKline was officially marketing those off-label uses. This seeming to be kind of in the middle because Dr. Drew was being paid by GSK. Kind of a gray area, but as far as we know right now, charges are not being filed.
So if he actually believes that this drug is a good thing, is this okay?
Well, that's the thing.
Is there any morality there if he truly believes in the drug?
Let's talk about that. Dr. Drew said, my comments were consistent with my clinical experience. In other words, he wasn't saying anything about Wellbutrin that he didn't personally experience in his clinical prescription of that medication. If that's the case, and if he is not going to be influenced by getting $275,000 from GSK to talk about this, why would, number one, why would GSK even want to pay him, right? Because if he's going to say only what he has observed clinically, what's the point of paying him? He's going to say the same thing either way. Case in point, if they didn't think that he was going to be influenced by the money, they wouldn't have paid him. They paid him for a reason. Very, very clear, Lewis.
Yeah. I think there's probably a good chance he just wouldn't be dropping the name as much if he didn't receive $275,000.
Also, we found out about a $115,000 payment that Dr. Drew received from Janssen Pharmaceuticals, and there's controversy about that, about whether Dr. Drew's saying it was just for an education program, but very, very sketchy stuff. So bear this all in mind. It's interesting to hear about what is going on with Dr. Drew, only because, not specifically about Dr. Drew, but it is interesting when you take someone like Dr. Drew. Someone else that comes to mind is CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta, right? Commenting about medications, commenting about investigations. It would be very interesting to know, because he is seen as somewhat of an authority and a trustworthy person. When you need to know about the real efficacy of a medication, you go to Sanjay Gupta if it's CNN. If we found out he was being paid by certain pharmaceutical companies, it would be very important to know that.